Hello to anyone, everyone, and no one. Today I want to talk about a book I finished reading recently called Life and Death, Twilight Reimagined by Stephanie Meyer. Now, I know I'm at least 5 years late on doing any sort of video about this, but I do think that I have some unique experiences and unique points to raise, so let's get started. Now, one question that always gets brought up in videos about this book is whether or not it was written to bring in a new, that is to say, male audience into the series. And my answer to that question is, I don't know if that was the intent, but it certainly worked in my case. So, oh well, there it is. The first scene that I want to discuss is the blood typing lab, which comes up early in the novel. I bring this up because, in my opinion, this lab would not have been allowed to go forward at any high school in the United States because it would fail at the risk assessment stage. There's simply too many liability issues for any principal or school board to allow it. Another point that is often raised about this book is whether or not it could or should be read as an LGBTQIA+ romance novel. Now, there are certainly few enough of those that go mainstream popular as it is, so if that's how you want to read it, you're more than welcome to it. Don't let me yuck your yum. But I don't believe that that was the original intent of the author. There are reasons that I believe that interpretation is not only valid, but might have come about, and the first is that Smear simply was unwilling or unable to change certain aspects of the characters. Charlie is firmly established as being an absolutely rubbish cook, barely able to manage toast and fried eggs. Establishing Beaufort, Beau, as the family cook violates expected gender roles. Saying that this sort of situation couldn't arise in the real world, just that it is not firmly established why this has happened. Beaufort continues to exhibit atypical male behavior when he chooses to read on a quilt that he's laid down in the yard. We would have expected a male, if they were going to read outside, to have either constructed a hammock or to have dragged out some sort of chair and found a beverage if they were going to do that. And now we get to the real crux of the matter. I do not believe that Smear knows how to write a teenage boy. As the foreword to the book states, Smear received input from her teenage sons in writing Life and Death, Twilight Reimagined. However, it's at this point that I really think that we need to remember that her children are not typical teenage boys. We see evidence of that fact in the above quotation. Reference is to the film Monty Python and the Holy Grail. It is, however, a reference without understanding what it is referring to. Almost as though someone had heard that this is a popular reference, but had not seen the movie. While it is true that the movie references an African swallow carrying a coconut, not a European swallow, and yes, coconuts do appear in the movie as they are used to imitate the sounds of horses' hooves on the ground, there is no such t-shirt in existence. And so, to be blunt, it is a reference that is simply there to say, yes, I know that this is a reference. And now, in order to fulfill my contractual obligations to the genre of reviewing Life and Death, Twilight Reimagined, I'm going to briefly discuss the names. Are you ready? To quote Catherine Tate, I ain't bothered. While Beaufort sounds like the name of a city in South Carolina or even North Carolina, and the diminutive form Beau is a slang term for a boyfriend, and therefore it couldn't be more of a tag name if it tried, it's fine and I ain't bothered. That's all the heavy content for this video, so let's move on to something a little more fun. The infamous piggyback scene. As unrealistic as this scene might sound, it absolutely can be done. It was many more years ago than I care to admit, but we were practicing fireman carries in a group that I was part of at the time, and the young lady who got me managed to carry me around 4 meters, maybe 5 at the time, so it absolutely can be done. So while it might not stack up favorably compared to my usual fare of Homer, Beowulf, Chaucer, Shakespeare, Tolkien, and Sir Walter Scott. In the end, I have to admit that Life and Death, Twilight Reimagined was a fun read. Since finishing this novel, I've gone on to read Midnight Sun, Twilight, New Moon, and I'm currently working on Eclipse, and I've got Breaking Dawn on the bookshelf to read next. So, all in all, not too bad. So, that's all my thoughts about Life and Death, Twilight Reimagined. If this video gets a lot of views or likes or whatever, or if somebody asks in the comments very nicely, I will go on and give my thoughts on the other books in the series. Until then, happy Christmas, and have the day that you all deserve.